half, we reported revenues of 13 billion baht, up 38% from the first half of last year. The main reasons, as you can see from the graph, that it's mainly from the green bar, which is the hotel and mixed-use business. So we have the recovery of the hotel business since the fourth quarter of last year that the tourism in Thailand started to recover. And also we started to recognize the sales of the real estate projects, which are St. Regis residential units and also the Anantara Vacation Club since January of this year. We also started the consolidation of Oaks Hotels and Resort in Australia, which we acquired 100% of by about July of this year. We also see strong growth of the restaurant business as well as the retail trading business as well. For the first half EBITDA, we saw an increase of about 74% in second quarter of this year to about 1 billion baht. And for the first half, it's 2.6 billion baht, up 37% from the same period last year. The EBITDA contribution was from the new sources of new initiatives, which are St. Regis Residences and also Oaks, despite us having two quite high expenses for our new hotels, the Anantara Kihava and also St. Regis Hotels, which we opened in February and April of this year. We're also seeing stable growth of EBITDA from the restaurant business, and the retail trading business has increased quite substantially because of the increase in sales, while the costs have not increased as rapidly as the revenue. For net profit, second quarter of this year, we reported net profit of 279 million baht, up about 254% from last year, as last year was, of course, a low base year for our hotel business because of the riot in middle of Bangkok. And for first half revenue, first half net profit is 1.1 billion baht, up 63% from last year. And now we'll go into business updates for each of our business units. The first one we'll talk about is the hotel business. The key highlights that happened in second quarter of this year includes the first thing is the acquisition of Oaks, which we acquired 100% by June. We also have the recognition of the real estate business from St. Regis Residence as well as the Anantara Vacation Club. And in this quarter, we opened two new hotels. One is the St. Regis Hotel that we own 100% of, and also Anantara Muine in Vietnam, which is a beach resort in the east of Vietnam, which is a management contract under Anantara. And we also have the hotel business is doing well with the recovery since the fourth quarter of last year. And our three Maldives hotels, the existing ones continue to report significant improvements in second quarter of this year as well. Now I'll update a bit on the Oaks acquisition and consolidation. So we actually announced that we would acquire Oaks in March of this year, where we first got about 15%. Over the few months, we now have 100% as of July of this year. And in terms of the financing of the acquisition, in the last bar, you see that internal cash was used for the first 20%, and the remaining 80% was we actually used debt to finance the acquisition. And in terms of price per share, the first 20% was at 35 cents Australian dollar cents, and the remaining 80% was at 52 cents. So that was part of the accounting. If you look at the 1 month contribution from Oak, which is the graph on the bottom, we actually reported revenue of about 550 million baht, of which about 203 was a markup of the first 20% up to the market price, which is at 52%. So it was the adjustment for our investment. And for the operations itself, Oaks actually reported about 347 million baht just in 1 month in June alone, because we we had the 94% in June, so we consolidated 1 month of Oaks financials into our financial statements in this quarter. And in terms of Capex and balance sheet, after the Oaks acquisition. Our capex this year is about 6.6 billion baht. Mainly, as you can see, it's the green bar. Again, it's the hotel and mixed-use business. So it's 2.6 billion baht of Oaks plus the capex to complete the Anantara and St. Regis earlier this year. And after that, the capex goes down to a bit less than 3 billion baht for the next 2 or 3 years. We also have the dotted bar, which is our acquisition budget. Earlier in the year, we told investors that our budget is 10 billion baht for the next 5 years. So we deducted 2.6 billion baht of Oak. So now our budget is about 7.5 billion baht for acquisitions for the next 4 years. And in terms of leverage ratio, because the debt was increased from Oak's debt itself on its balance sheet, as well as we used the debt to finance our acquisition, 80% of our acquisition. Debt to equity ratio as of second quarter increased to about 1.3 times, but within 12 to 18 months, we think it should be able to come back down to about 1.1 to 1 ratio from the performance of Oaks that will be coming into our financials. And now on the residential property development. For St. Regis, we have been able to sell about 38% to date, of which we've recorded 30% up to second quarter. We still have about 8% still pending transfer. It's been sold, but we will recognize the revenue once the units are transferred. And we have additional 7% that has been deposited, but the agreement is under negotiation, so that's a high probable sales for us in very near future. So altogether, that is already about 44% of the total saleable area. So we should be able to meet our budget of about 50% sale within 2011. For the Anantara Vacation Club, which we launched in December of last year, as of June of this year, we've been able to sell about $6 million US. First quarter was about $3 million US, so second quarter was another $3 million, which is actually above our budget because second quarter we actually projected for slower sales because of the low season in second quarter. And in terms of member, it's 20% Singaporeans now. First quarter was 15%, and because we knew that we would target Singaporeans going forward, so in the second quarter, we've been able to successfully convert a lot of Singaporeans into members. For the hotel statistics, second quarter of this year, we reported overall occupancy of 49%, which is up from 41% in second quarter of last year. But if you look at the organic, which is like-for-like occupancy, excluding hotels that we opened since about December of last year, our occupancy is actually at about 52%. So an increase from 11% increase from 41%. Last year, of course, because last year was also low base year because of the riot in second quarter of last year. So all our hotels have been performing well this year. So with the occupancy, we think that we will be able to maintain our full year occupancy of about 60%, as we have told investors earlier. In terms of ADR, we would still maintain it at about sideways for this year, about 2 to 3% growth at most. And in terms of feeder market, all the markets have increased. For our overall room nights, it has increased by about 26%, which is in line with the 28% of the Thailand's tourist arrival. Europeans and the Americans are still our major feeder markets, altogether about 45%, followed by the East Asia, which is a very new and up-and-coming markets for us, with about 24% contribution. For Europe and U.S. tourists, there's been quite a lot of concern about the economic situation in the European countries. So we've tried to plot out about 10-15 years of tourist statistics that come into Thailand from Europe over the past 15 years. And as you could see, with all the crisis